Matthew Raiford.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. It's good to see you. So we are joined here by CheFarmer. One word.
Yes. One
Matthew
word.
Raiford of the amazing Gilliard Farm, and we'll learn about also a new venture called Strong Roots 9. And a brand new awesome book, which I've read and I highly recommend people check out. It's got an amazing storyline, beautiful pictures, and of course, delicious recipes. Bressignon.
Yes.
Bressignon.
Yum. Yeah.
Bless
and eat.
Bless and eat. So welcome. And thanks for taking time with us.
Man, I am so looking forward to our conversation today, for sure.
Awesome. So I've known you for several years now, and one of the
almost
things
a decade.
We're getting there. We were talking about we have a little wisdom on us right now.
A little wisdom, just a little.
And I've always loved talking to you as a farmer because I love talking to chefs and I love talking about food, but you have this extra perspective of the effort and the suffering, but mostly good suffering that it takes to grow food.
Definitely.
And so I've always appreciated your perspective from that. So maybe tell us a little bit about your background and how you arrived to be on a swing outside of a hotel in Greenville.
Yeah, well, it's definitely been a labor of love along the way. It's really interesting. I went from not being able to control my environment to knowing that my environment can never be controlled. When you're a chef, you run up on a deadline every time that ticket machine goes off. You're like, okay, deadline, got to knock it out. And next thing, I come up from the background of a chef is only good as his last meal. So you're only good as the last time you cook that, and somebody said it was wonderful. You got to do, it's a continuum of doing amazing with the same products or, the same thing night after night after night. And then to go into farming, which is, so inside of a restaurant situation or a hotel situation or banqueting situation, you may get something thrown at you in the middle of the thing where someone says, oh, we need something gluten-free, vegan, and then on top of that, they're pescatarian. Right. And so then, you got to get super creative really, really quick. It's on the fly. You got to use all your brain. Right. So that's what I mean by like in an environment that you can't quite control, but you have enough knowledge to know how to do these things, right? To make it work. And then, sorry about that. And then if you think about farming, Mother Nature is actually completely in control of every single thing that you think you have on lock. So all the knowledge that you have in your head, you could put every last bit of it to use. And Mother Nature would be like, not today. I think I'm gonna rain for the next 52 inches. And wash everything away, So I think it's like, I think I've taken two professions and combined them that are both I'm not in control of. So I guess I like chaos in some ways, but I also just love, and when I say love, I do. I love having the knowledge of both of these things and get it to play out on the plate.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's fun to organize chaos sometimes. If it's not too chaotic, if it comes into organization, then it's
right.
I've always said that like farming is like juggling bars of soap in the rain if it rains.
If it rains, right. And then, and then it's different when your hands are just sweaty as hell.
Right. Exactly. You're still gonna drop
the soap. In Georgia for sure. For sure,
That's awesome. So you specifically have this amazing background in Gullah Geechee culture and this legacy farm. A lot of people have a relationship with their land, but you have a really special relationship to the land that you farm on. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the land's been in my family since 1874. Jupiter Gilliard, who was born a slave in 1812 in the Carolinas, was able to pay $9 in taxes for 476 acres of land. Yeah, like don't anybody out there that's listening to this think that you can go and buy 476 acres of land for $9 in taxes. That does not exist anymore. So don't try it. It needs to be an inheritance if you're gonna, you know, just get down to that $9 thing or something like that. But yeah, I am the sixth generation to be on it farming, and my children are the seventh to have planted, harvested, eaten from a crop from this land. And we're right on the coast of Georgia. This year we're planting rice, sweet potatoes, turmeric, and hibiscus.
That's awesome. And we're going to talk really specifically about hibiscus moving forward, but I just think that that's such an amazing story in a world where, you know, most Black farmers don't have an extended connection to their land. You have this legacy, and so I'm really happy that you're able to tell this story. Just a little bit about my background, like one of the farms that I managed, and that you know this, was Burge Plantation, and it was literally I was farming land that had been farmed by slaves, and so it's so pervasive. And when you connect it to agriculture in the South, it's great that these stories are coming out, that we can you're not going to heal from the things that happened in the past without talking about what happened and experiencing it. And it's there. I mean, you can feel it in the soil.
Yeah. And you know, I think the term "cook with your heart and let it come through your hands" is also, I think, of very much so what we do in farming, right? Look, so we're tending to the land with love, so that it can get, you know, so that it will give us its bounty. So I think that's a piece that always needs to be, you know, talked about. You know, yes, there were enslaved people and have been enslaved people that built this country, and understanding that knowledge that they came here with is why they were the people that they were brought at the specific time when they were brought. Was they weren't brought because they didn't have knowledge of rice. It was they were brought because they did have a knowledge of rice, and they also weren't going to die very quickly of malaria. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a combination of things that put these things. So I think honoring that, and having that conversation about where we lie within that, I think is just extremely important. And anytime we can like uplift it, you know, like kind of like, you know, Michael Twitty with his cooking gene, the book Cooking Genes, right? And now he has the book out called Rice. His whole conversation is about embracing the past so that we can make a much better future, and doing it through food.
And it's one of the things that's made our country so great is the strength and resiliency of the people from the bottom to the top. And so, like, I like the message. It's not a punitive thing. It's a uplifting thing. Just to know the struggles that people from all over the country have gone into, and yeah. So that's really cool. I had to go down into that, and because I know that affects every part of agriculture in the South.
Yes.
So I'm interested, you know, what changed in because you didn't start out farming, you left the farm, right? And you got this culinary education. What changed in your preparation of food when you gained more experience farming?
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, growing up on a farm, you know, growing up at the family farm, you know, throughout the school year, you know, if I wasn't in school, I was on the farm. That's pretty much kind of how it worked. And then I think as I grew and you know, when I don't think this has ever changed, right? And I think that this is just the system that we've gotten caught up in. And so, and what I mean by that is, when I went to school for culinary arts, I was always told to get the freshest ingredients, right? You never hear about the farmer that took a raggedy strawberry and elevated that strawberry to something. You know what I'm saying? What you do is you hear about the farmer that grew this amazing strawberry, like this, the only strawberry that has this specific taste. You got to get it from this specific region, and to make it taste specifically like this, and this, you know? And so I think there was always an homage to farmers in every aspect. But then the thing of having and being connected and understanding that, if you do it that way, you're not going to have strawberries all the time, right? Not that amazing strawberry. You know what I'm saying? And I think that when I started to realize where I was at and doing things, I was like, wait, so it is really about the farmer. Like by the time it gets to me, if the farmer has done his thing, I'm taking an amazing product and working to make it more amazing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's I think as I started to like see that we weren't always doing that, we were trying to do. I'm just using strawberries as the thing. So don't anybody hate on strawberries this upcoming year and season. But I think that was what started like turning in my head. And then, having my Nana gift deed my sister and I our first 20 acres of land was like, wait, I can literally control or really understand how to elevate this one little thing. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, oh, let's do it. And so, yeah, that's what's gotten me to where I am right now. And also understanding that it's about being resilient. I think coming back home to the farm and it having laid fallow for the amount of years that it had, while, because my Nana had gotten older, she didn't stop farming a quarter acre. There was a quarter acre plot that was right next to her house. She didn't stop farming that well into her late 80s. She didn't pass until she was 96. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So, and I was home at that point in time. I really feel honored to have been and to spent that time with her to also learn about the agriculture and the land from her. Now she's an ancestor. So to have that, I think it's unbelievable to be able to be connected to the land through that. And there's very few people of any nationality, of any race, that can say that they in the United States that can have that kind of conversation. Yeah. And I think that is one of the things that also got me to start to appreciate and understand and see, and I could keep going on and on.
No, absolutely. And that's kind of the heart of what I'm doing and why we're giving this video is that, whether it's environmental issues or whether it's just where we find ourselves in society, you can't solve something or you can't improve something unless you have a relationship with it. You can't improve the environment. You can't solve these environmental problems if you don't have a relationship.
If you don't have a relationship with
the land. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what we do is put people's hands in the dirt and get people outside and say, oh, wait, I'm part of a living system. I'm not a closed little thing running around by itself. So
yeah, totally all interconnected. We're all interconnected.
Yeah, absolutely. So the topic of this video that we're doing is sorrel, and basically how from sorrel we can learn how food connects us all. And so it's one of the common shared experiences. And we had this really cool experience at one of our sites at Delta where we grew sorrel, and people from different cultures would kind of come around and talk about how they use the plant differently. And it was just a really interesting connection. I've never had that experience over a plant where just strangers start talking about how they use it differently.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so I'm curious to hear your story about it, and just basically if you could tell us a little bit about the Gullah Geechee relationship to sorrel and how that plant is used.
Yeah, so here's what's like super interesting. I actually was introduced to sorrel the way I have been introduced to it and growing it, the Roselli, is from, actually I was at a SOG conference, and this farmer from Louisiana walked up to me, and I wish I kept the pack of seeds that he gave me, but he gave me this pack of seeds and was like, hey, somebody told me that you live in South Georgia and that you have a perfect climate to be able to grow this almost all year round. And I was like, huh? And he hands me this pack. Like, I didn't know what he was talking about. You know what I'm saying? And he hands me this packet of seeds. And all for the last 6 years, 5-6 years, we've been growing hibiscus from that original seed stock.
Wow.
From that original seed. And I don't even think it was more than like maybe 50 to 100 seeds, maybe. And within my very first year, I grew these giant bushes that just giant, like 6.5, 7 feet, I think was what we got. And what we did is we didn't plant it late in the year. We actually planted it like March. And by like the middle of the summer, I was just like, oh my God, what? And it was very unassuming when it first came up too, because it's just this like 4 little green and red vein leaves that are just like kind of sticking out of the ground. And then, you know, with the proper little bit of everything, which we make our own compost teas through Burma composting. We also use the rabbit droppings to add to that compost tea, oyster shells, all that goes into our compost tea. So it's very robust, to say the least. And so, you know, I grew this first plant, and when I looked at it, never forget, like people would come out to the farm and like, you can grow hibiscus here? And I was like, or somebody said, oh my God, I can't believe I haven't seen a sorrel plant since I was, you know, knee-high to a grasshopper. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was just amazed that there were, you know, and then I met a few of the folks in our community, and they did something very, very similar, where they like came through and was like, I haven't seen one of these. I've been buying this at the store, you know, in the little packs, because I haven't seen it in so long. And I was like, oh, for real? And I was like, is it something that was grown here? And they were like, well, yeah. And they would like talk about somebody that had grew it, and they just hadn't seen it in like 20, 30, 40 years kind of a thing. So, you know, for me, my thing was about the total utilization of a plant. That's me. How many things can I get out of this one plant? And for those folks that are listening that know nothing about this plant at all, the flower, edible, the calaxis, the red calaxis that's underneath there, completely edible. The leaves, edible, right? So, and it's a perennial plant, right? So if done right with a very, very mild kind of winter, you can get that thing to just keep growing. And here's what I did on my very first time growing it, because I was in that typical farming mode. I just had started growing. It was probably maybe a year. It might have been a year or two in the growing. I've been home 10 years. Yeah, I probably like year 2 or 3, and I pulled up all the plants. Like after I finished everything, I just pulled them all up and started all over again. And I planted it, right? And was like, oh, this is great. Okay, yeah. This thing is probably gonna die. I might as well just go ahead and pull it. You know, I chopped it. Yeah, and it was thick too, right? So it wasn't like I just pulled it up. Like I cut it down, then pulled it up.
Yeah, you had to work at it. It's like okra.
Yeah,
it's like taking down a small tree.
Right. Yes. And so I didn't realize that I could have let that thing keep growing. You know what I'm saying? And so right now we're growing so this is like 6 years later, right? We're actually growing the first permanent plot of hibiscus in 2022. And so what we're doing is we use the leaves, we dehydrate the leaves and grind it and put it in our spice blends. We also have wild staghorn sumac that grows on the farm, and we have over 200 of those trees, and so we harvest from them every year. And anytime a new one pops up, we just leave it. And in 1 year, we're getting like full fruit off the plants, off this wildness. So I love wild crafting. But back to sorrel. So, you know, one of the things is, so within the calaxis, within that red piece, when you peel it back, that's where the seeds are located. And on average, we have calculated at our lowest amount of seeds we've ever gotten per flower, per one, is 20.
Wow.
It's 20. That's the lowest amount we've ever gotten. On average, we've done 25 to 30 seeds in every last one. So if you can imagine a plant where you're looking at it going, okay, well, there's like 20 or 30 of these on here. You know what I'm saying? Eat like if there's 20, if you get 20 flowers on one of the on your one plant, that's an average of like 400 seeds per plant. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, oh, I like this. You know what I'm saying? And all you got to do is just let it sit and dry. And then you just go into it and it pops right out and you got seed. And that seed is ready for the next year. And so now all the seeds that we plant at the farm are pretty much from what we first started with. And we actually send the rest of them to True Love Seeds, Owen Taylor, at True Love Seeds, and they sell those specific that specific seed from us.
That's great. So
yeah,
anyone who's listening to this that wants to grow their own sorrel, they can grow sorrel from your seed if they go to True Love Seed and
yes.
And I think we'll do the same thing. We'll grow some of y'all's seed at some of our sites at Delta and at CDC. It's a great story to tell. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a lot of fun. And I think red drink has been something in the African diaspora as a whole that's been made with sorrel. Period. And it's so interesting because in Mexico it's Jamaica. It's and so it's really interesting how this plant has been part of teas and health for thousands of years, pretty much.
It's the original Kool-Aid.
Right. Yes, it is. It's the original Kool-Aid. And I think that's also like one of those things where when you start to think about how some of the most original things that were healthy for us have been turned into something that is laden with as many chemicals as possible to try to emulate that thing that nature and only nature can really do. And that's really also why I brought up the wild staghorn sumac, because it has that, it also gives you that pinkish reddish color, and it's citrusy in taste also. And actually those two together are probably my most favorite of drinks. And
wow.
I know that when I first started talking about wild staghorn sumac, it was actually not something that I found on the farm. It was actually one of our folks that were kind of apprenticing with us. I had it as a kid, but I hadn't even thought about it again. I was, and then at the time, the trees that they found were super, super tall. So I'm not looking up like that. I'm trying to pay attention to everything on the ground.
On the ground, yeah.
On the ground, right? Now, and check it. And I have been cutting this area down. And so when I let those grow, that's why we ended up with like almost 200 trees. 200 is like a magical number on our farm also, because we also have 225, I believe, southern huckleberries, which are the precursor to the blueberry. Yeah, and they grow wild also. So like the 200-ish number is like a magical number. I got to look that up now. Anybody do numerology? Somebody help me out with that number.
You're gonna have to plant 200 more of 200 things now.
There you go. Okay, now I know what my mission in life is.
That's amazing. And I've had sumac and I kind of grew up also drinking it, but I never thought about combining the two. That could be amazing. I can totally see how that would work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's pretty damn good.
So one of the undercurrents of the videos that we've done is, native wisdom and wisdom from the past basically illustrates how plants were our first teachers, right? And how they have some kind of something or many things to teach us. So if you were to say sorrel was your teacher, what do you think that sorrel has taught you?
Resiliency. Sorrel has taught me resiliency, and that we, as the human race, are not a monolith. We're not one thing. Like each one of the countries that you just mentioned use the hibiscus in a different way, but they still use all of it. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that that's the story it's taught me, is that it's taught resiliency. It's taught the fact, and then think about this: when something is grown in so many other places, right, and it's the same thing, right? Whether it be a bird that carried that seed, or whether it was a person that carried that seed, or whatever, what have you, that seed is resilient, and that says a lot about any plant when you look at multiple people within the human race using that product. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it is amazing how that plant, it went on this whole journey, and what's one of the things that fascinates me about food. You know, it's the result of colonialism in many instances, but the fact that we can eat pizza is because we brought tomatoes from the Andes, right? Or the fact that this plant is used in India and used in in Louisiana is a result of that culinary and just the whole world moving around, and those plants had to survive and thrive.
Right. There you go. So I know another something that I went to a seed saving conference some years gone back, and somebody said that if you wanted to compare a seed to understanding the world, the seed already has everything in it needs to grow. Like, technically, if man never touched a plant, it would grow.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's us trying to, manipulate it to do very specific kind of things that throws it off sometimes. But for the most part, like the Mother Nature is always trying to take over. Like if there are spots in our property that if we just leave fallow, like don't touch, we can come back in a year or two and be like, oh my God, did you see, we could eat that, and we can eat that, and we can eat that, and we can eat that. Like there's like, lamb's quarter and dandelion that, like all these things, I have a little sticker that says, eat more weeds, do less mowing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's amazing the things that we have tried our best to get rid of that are actually part of what we should be trying to hold on to. Yeah. I use a pennywort or dollar weed as one of those things. Like you can eat that thing. You know what I'm saying? That is a weed. It is, but it's also telling you something. It's telling you that there's too much water. So whenever you see dollar weed, know that there's too much water happening in that space or that area. And so when we start paying attention to things like that, it allows us to understand, what's really happening. And that's one of the things I like about hibiscus too. It's very hardy. It's not like, oh, it has to have. The only thing that it really needs is sun, some warmth. Everything else, I mean, I've seen it where it grow with very little water, and I've seen it grow with a lot of water. Its root system is like broad and long, like its tap root to me is more spread out than it is like straight down. And so because it's always it's looking to find the water that it needs, it's looking to find the nutrients that it needs, and so
it's an opportunistic feeder. It'll thrive no matter where it is.
No matter where it is. Definitely.
Well, I know we need to wrap up. I wanted to talk a little bit about your cookbook that came out recently. If you want to pick it up, it's an awesome read. Is there a you have to try recipe in this? Or I don't remember if I saw a specific sorrel recipe in there.
Oh,
I might have missed it though.
Oh, so our Gullah Geechee gin, Ricky, is in the book, and it is a hibiscus forward gin. We grow 90% of the botanicals that go into that gin. The only thing that we don't grow on our farm, actually, now this is super funny. You ready? Juniper berries.
That's gonna be kind of hard, right?
Yeah. So juniper berries is the only thing that we don't grow. But however, we put the least amount of juniper berry that is allowed for it to still be called gin, because we wanted it to be a little more floral forward. And it's an amazing gin, but the gin Ricky is in there. We also have a hibiscus spritzer that's in there where we show how to make a hibiscus syrup, a little bit of club soda and lime. And so, yeah, I have 2 recipes in there. And within my next cookbook, I'm going to talk about things that can be companion planted with hibiscus that are still make it like super yummy. So one of the things I'm working on right now is growing a Persian lime tree next to a hibiscus plant. And yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like those kinds of things. Like they if they taste well together when you combine them, they grow very well together. You know what I'm saying?
Our previous video was on companion planting, and we used that same kind of comparison. We also did, and you may have fun experimenting with this. We talked about the Three Sisters.
Yes,
which I'm sure you're familiar with. So we tried the Southern Three Sisters.
Okay.
Which we decided we would do, instead of squash, we would do sweet potato.
Okay.
Instead of corn, we would do okra.
Okay.
And instead of runner beans, we would do cowpeas. And it turns out they all worked really well and really symbiotically together.
Yes.
So
yes.
that might be a nice
you got a
combination for your cookbook.
There you go. Okay. So you're going to, okra, sweet potato, and a bush bean, pretty much.
Or a cowpea. Like cowpea works because it actually puts runners on and goes up the okra.
Oh, now we're talking. Okay. Well, how about this? This coming March, late March, early April, let's make sure that you and I get together and do that here at the farm and do kind of like a little plot that's built on that. Yeah, for sure.
I would love to do that. I still have not made it down to your farm, which is crazy. We go down to Jekyll regularly. I got married in Jekyll. We love going down there. And in the height of the pandemic, because I was going crazy, being caged in with my family and nobody else, I rode my bike from Atlanta to Jekyll, and I'm pretty sure I had to pass really close to your farm and didn't even think about it.
Did you do 75 to 82?
I went down, I basically followed the Okmulgee until it turned into the Altamaha. So I went way backwards.
You came right by the farm. You came right.
Of course I did.
Damn it, man. I missed you again. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, look, know that the farm is open to you and the family, whatever. If ever you need just a quick little jaunt, quick little getaway and want to see some things, come on down. But yeah, I mean, I'm completely open to us doing something like that together and making a thing. 2022 is for me also going to be the year of collaboration. I'm going to try my best I would love to actually come up and plant some of those seeds with you. I think I have, I got seeds at the house now. So I'll save and put some of those seeds to the side. And we'll just go from there, brother, and just make it make it hot.
That sounds great. I'm really excited about that. So
definitely.
Yeah. 2022, we're going to plant some Southern Three Sisters. Mm-hmm. We're going to come up and plant some sorrel.
There we go.
We're going to grow some stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're going to grow some stuff and then talk about it. And then feed each other. Here we go.
That's right. That's the best part. You sit down and eat, and then all of a sudden you got something.
There you go. There you go.
Last question for the people listening. What do you have to say in terms of them starting to grow or experimenting with some of this stuff? I know that a lot of people are intimidated. We're throwing out a lot of technical terms. And what do you say to the person who is like, this is all interesting, but I don't have time for it? Where do I start?
So for me, I think the simplest way to start is a 5-gallon bucket, pop some holes in the bottom of it, and drop some topsoil and some black cow, mix it in together, more like a 75% topsoil, 25% black cow. I'm not getting paid for this, y'all. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to give something I know people can figure out, right? Or I can just say compost, or whatever. and just drop whatever you want. If you want carrots this year, this is a great time to start planting carrots. Great time to plant Brussels sprouts. Brassicas are like ready to go in the ground right now. And then, you'll be right on time for that first frost with those collard greens and start harvesting them. So I think just start off with one thing that you like. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to grow anything you don't like. That's another thing. My running joke is I remember going to a farmer's market and asking somebody why they grew Chioggia beets. And they were like, oh, because that's what everybody likes those. And I said, well, what about the stuff that you like? Do you plant any of the things that you like? Like you like Romano beans? Plant Romano beans. It doesn't matter whether everybody likes them or not. You know what I'm saying? But it's a thing that you like. You have to pull enjoyment, even though there is money that needs to be made to sustain things. But you need to always have at least one or two things that are planted that you like, and never consider yourself a failure if you can't get things to grow immediately, because that could have been the couple of seeds that were the bad seeds. That could have been, your mix was off.
I always joke with people that, they say I don't have a green thumb. It's like, I've killed so many things. I have a black thumb, and I've built up enough compost that now I can grow some things.
Yes. Perfect. Yeah, I would tell people to start there. I would also tell people that, like, if composting is not your thing, don't start trying to do it, because it's something that has to be tended to, taken care of. Hold on one second, and everything. Look forward to seeing you, bro.
We got to chat.
Yes. Okay. Definitely. I'm at this conference, not conference, but this food festival, and
you're seeing people.
Yeah, and you see people that you haven't seen in, like, from the pandemic. If you think about the food scene, let's just talk about that, right? Like, there was no Atlanta Food and Wine Festival last year.
I'll be your face on there.
Okay, no problem. Let's make it happen. Think about the Atlanta Food Festival. It didn't exist last year. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of us that are in the industry, like we're not connected and haven't been connected for years. Like, I think the festivals are as much about the food as it is the camaraderie. You know what I'm saying? And I just, those are things that I love, and I am so glad that I'm a part of this community. I'm so glad I'm part of this farming community with you. And yeah, let's just, I'm just telling everybody, if anybody walks away with anything from this conversation, I want you to understand that if you cook with your heart and let it come through your hands, if you farm or garden, and if you're a beginner, right, you just got to start. There's nothing wrong with cooking and burning something, right? You've learned something, and I think that after this past year is one of the things that I have truly missed. I've missed interaction with people, like, because of the pandemic, you didn't come down to Jekyll. You know what I'm saying? Which means you and I would have been able to connect, So I think it's a lot of that.
Rebuilding those connections and rebuilding. Yes. Our motto for our company is maintenance is love, right?
There we go.
You build the things together that are important, and so things that are low maintenance are things that are low love. So we want to increase our maintenance, not decrease it.
Increase it. There we go, my friend.
Awesome. Well, it is great talking to you as always. I always enjoy our conversations, and I look forward to more of them.
Definitely. I have you on my speed dial now, so I will start harassing you a little bit more. So the next time you're riding your bike, oh my God, how many days was that? It was like a 2-day ride?
It was 325 miles, and I did it in 3 days.
3 days, yeah. Yeah, see, I know a little bit about that cycling world.
You should get into it.
Touring. Actually, you know what? I really want to get into it, because I could do something like a long trip. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just biking and just be like, you know what? I'm gonna stop today. I did 25 miles. I don't want to do any more. You know what I'm saying? Or
It's
I
my
did
favorite
100
way to
miles.
travel because you can't.
Yeah.
You're fully in control and you're in the environment. Well, I would talk to you a
Yeah.
long time about that. But I'm going to let you get to the
No
people in your
problem.
conference. I
Definitely.
appreciate you again waking up early in the morning and
My
chat
man.
with me.
My man. I appreciate it. I'm honored. And I look forward to this continuing.
Awesome. Well, let's talk soon.